Hi, my name is Francesco and this is the story of how I got involved for the first time in a startup, how I lost 500 euros, getting no equity at all because I didn't even know what equity was at the time, joining a project that we will call V-Card, because I am not sure that I can use the real name. I learned a lot, especially on how to not get scammed anymore. Even though it wasn't a scam, it was totally legit, and I am sure that by telling you the story, you can learn a lot too. Remember to like and subscribe so that more people can learn too. Let's start with the story. It's around 2020, and I just got elected student president. In Italy, basically there is not just a class president, but there is also the student president. There are at least 4 per school. Some schools can have 2, but usually it's 4 students that get elected democratically by the other students to meet with the head of the school, the principal, main teachers, and discuss monthly also about the budget that the school has. So I was there just chilling on Instagram when someone wrote me a message, private message. He seemed a nice guy and he was asking me if I wanted to have discounts for the students at my school. I wanted to be a good student president, so I thought, well, having discounts is a great thing for students, so why not? He added me to a WhatsApp group chat with other 20-30 guys, and we hopped on a call. Basically, 3 guys in an untraceable Italian city have managed to make a project for the post-COVID situation. Remember, we are in late 2020. Since most activities were closed, when they temporarily reopened, people were not really trusting the thing and weren't going to shops and restaurants. So they had this idea to make a simple card, a physical card, that was distributed among students to get discounts in certain shops and restaurants to stimulate the demand to come back after the pandemic. It's a great idea. The problem was that then the pandemic hit again, but it's okay. It seemed to work very well. And they wanted to scale this thing, making the card digital with an app and replicating the model in different cities. Among them, Monza, which is the city I live in. And they were looking for city managers, which are essentially strategic partners in that city that manage operations locally. For example, they talk with restaurant owners and shop owners to arrange the deals. And they also distribute the cards. Since it's a digital thing now, essentially they just promote it. I liked the idea, it sounded cool and solid to me, so they proposed to sign a contract. Since they wanted to make a real startup, so to register the thing as an SRL, which means Società Responsabilità Limitata. It's Italian for limited liability company, essentially. They were looking for funds, because this is a very expensive thing for 3 young guys in their 20s, because there are a lot of expenses to register an activity in Italy. If it's not a personal activity, but an activity based on capital. So they were looking to finance the registration and other activities through the funds provided by city managers. Essentially, if you wanted to be a city manager for your city, you had to pay them a fee. To be honest, I didn't understood this very well, and I thought initially that it was basically to become the partners of the company, and I thought it was super great. I didn't know anything about equity at this point. I wasn't yet studying management, engineering and business and how equity and governance structures work. So I just signed the contract, sent them the money, and that was it. Then I didn't hear from them for basically 2 months. They disappeared, but that was okay because there was the second wave of COVID, so okay, fair enough. Then they came back because they got their activity registered and everything was set up correctly, for my understanding. Then of course I don't know what really happened, but essentially we were ready to start. And they did a pretty good job in teaching us how to practice cold calling and how to get local businesses, jump in the boat and essentially provide discounts for the users of the card. So I got free training. I mean, I literally just paid for my training, essentially. I also made some good friends, honestly, because we got some sessions where essentially I was put in a couple with the guy from Venice, and we had to practice together. We would take turns. I was the local business owner, he was the city manager, and then the next day I was the city manager and he was the local business owner. And through practice we got so good that we managed to close 20 clients in just a month. That's almost one per day, which is incredibly successful, especially if you are essentially selling them the ability to earn less, since you are asking them to provide discounts for your users, which sounded crazy to me. These activities, at first, the idea was just to give them the ability to provide discounts for the card owners for free. But then the owners realized that this would mess up everything, because then everyone could jump on the boat and say, oh yes, I will make discounts for the users of the cards. So they wanted the businesses to sign a contract. And to sign a contract, they meant to pay. So if you were a business owner, you had to pay 50 to 80 euros essentially, and some of that money would go to me. I got 10 euros for every business that joined the card in my city, which after taxes were like 7 euros. But that was enough, because the real money came later, because this card won't be free. This card will cost from 1 euro to 10 euros. They were trying to come up with a price they did not have decided yet at this point. They will later settle with 10 euros per card, giving to the city manager 1 euro per card. Imagine selling 10,000 of these. For a guy like me, that was a lot of money, surely enough to recover my initial investment. So the end of June came by, so we are talking about 6 months later, and we are ready to make it all happen. I remember the same day I got my driver license, we launched, and we made the app available on the App Store and Google Play Store, and we started asking people to download the app. I think also some social media campaigns were run, because in the meantime, of course, the city manager had to create an Instagram profile for the company in the city to promote activities with social media posts. And somehow I didn't really yet delved into the magic realm of Facebook ads by the time, but essentially some of the money that I have invested and that the local businesses had paid to enter into this circle was meant to be spent on ads. Now, I'm not sure how much of it was spent on ads, but probably a good amount of it, I at least hope so. And a part of the app being pushed to the app stores, we also had a PR-like structure. And the PR-like structure is essentially a public relationship structure, which is very common here in Italy to promote events. Essentially, if you want to go to a disco party here, either you pay directly to the disco, but that's pretty rare, or you have to go to a PR, which essentially is a guy, which is under a guy, which is under another guy, which manages the disco, and you have to pay them like 20 euros to enter to the party, minimum. He gets a commission, the guy over him gets a commission, the guy over him gets a commission, and so on. We had only one layer. I mean, the margin on the cards was 1 euro, so one layer was enough. It was me, and under me we had one layer. Under me there were 50 people. Some of them were some of my friends, some other were random people, which I found on Instagram through Monza Memes, which was a meme page about my city, which I created even before joining this project. And we launched, and we essentially failed because less than 20 people bought the card. I remember there was a term into the contract that essentially I wouldn't get the payment until 20 cards were sold in my city. I struggled a lot to convince people to buy those cards just to get the first and last payment. I wasn't making my money back. and I was working like hell on this project. Then I started to realize something, that the web interface was unusable. It was really hard just to get a card. You essentially had to go on this WordPress made website, but also the app wasn't really a good user experience thing, because you just had this number, which was the number of your card, but you did not have a way to confirm when you were paying at the restaurant that you had right of a discount or something. I was given stickers to place on the doors of the restaurants and shops who had made an agreement with the company. So somehow the people working in the shops knew that they had to accept this discount because there was a sticker on the door. So people were getting their discount somehow, even with some difficulties. But it wasn't a great experience. Some users felt pissed off. And I remember a friend of mine calling me saying, hey, we went to the restaurant with my friends and we got the card and everything. We went to pay for our dinner, but the lady at the desk told us that we could not get a discount. There was no process made to make sure that everyone involved in the touching point with the customer knew what they were doing, knew about the project at least. And since people were not having a great experience, the word of mouth was bad. Imagine this scene. Oh, hey, did you heard about V-Card? Yeah, I got one. Look at me. Wow. Oh, are the discounts real? Do you save that much? Well, actually not, because the app sucks and bad word of mouth cannot get sales. But I didn't know that at the time. All I knew was how to make websites. Unfortunately, at the same time, I was learning about PHP, which for some unknown reason to mankind, I thought was good. Spoiler, it's not. It's very bad. Don't use it. Write your backend in either Rust, write it in JavaScript, or really anything else. But, well, I proposed to make a new web app, myself, alone. The current app and websites were made by an external company while I was a single person. And I made it. I made a demo, I showed that to the 3 founders, they liked it, and they said, okay, test it on Monza, on your city. If it does work, we will then use it elsewhere too. I wasn't even expecting a payment. I just wanted to make my money back with the project. And also to have my friends, the guy in Venezia or in Venice, the guy in Forlì, the guy in Rome, the guy in Naples, which were all guys that I knew during the video calls and that I wanted to help because I knew that they were in the same situation as me, not knowing how to make this project work. So I made the web app. I didn't have time to make the app, so I only made a web version of it. Also remember, at this time in history, ChatGPT is not a thing. So there wasn't vibe coding, no, everything was written by hand. So I make the web app, I make it usable, and some people actually use it. I remember in a kebab, the first ones that used my web app were using it in a kebab. And it finally worked because it had QR codes and cookies and temporary token authorization. That worked very well. Also, I learned a lot of things for my next startup, which was founded by me, which failed that too anyway, but smart waiter. Tell me in the comments if you want to hear about that too. It's another crazy experience. But then my web app was working, but you know, a business is not just the technology. I didn't knew this back in the day, so I completely ignored the fact that marketing was basically dead because we were not making any more campaigns and my meme page was not enough. And also the story around the V-card, the narrative, the collective narrative was bad. And I had to fix that. But I didn't know this, so I didn't fix it. Instead, I got angrier and angrier because this thing wasn't working, even though it was supposed to. And one night, I was so much pissed off that I called the three guys and I asked them to resign my contract. Essentially, a year later from the start of the project, after 6 months of failing, essentially, because from June to January, that's 6 months, I told them that I decided to stop. So I lost my rights over the city of Monza. I think that they found another city manager for my city, but I never heard of V-Card, so I don't know this guy if he really existed. And I told to all the existing customers, which weren't many, that they could use the card, but that I wasn't involved anymore with the project. And also the restaurant and shop, their owners kind of understood, since two of them, because I was in a very good relationship with them, so I told them the whole story, and they said, yeah, it's okay, Francesco, don't worry. You know, I'm an entrepreneur too. Look at my amazing shop. And starting out with this thing is very hard. So don't worry, kiddo. I was emotionally destroyed at that time. I remember my mind was crazy with talks about failure and how I basically failed the customers and failed the shops. So I was really in a sad and dark place. I did not heard from these three guys again until a year later, when one of them called me totally random on the phone. It was just before a pitch to a guy who was on the board of Poste Italiane, which basically is the post office of Italy, for my second startup. And he was asking me about the domain because for some reason they were having troubles. And he thought that it was my fault because of the web app that I made 1 year prior. But no, it wasn't my fault. I don't even remember, probably was even a different domain. No, the problem wasn't the domain. The problem was that the server was a Windows server and it wasn't listening on the right port or something like that. But anyway, he understood and that was it. I never heard from them again. Never. I hope they are doing well. They weren't bad guys. It's okay, I lost money on this thing, but it wasn't a scam. It was a legit company. It was registered. I hope they are doing well. At least I learned about the payment agreements and the prestazione occasionale, which is a type of contract in Italy, which I later used when I was making UGC content on TikTok, banking 200 euros per video. Insane project, that too. Ask in the comments if you want to hear the story about that. And that's it. That's the story. I leave to you this video right here. Remember to like this video so that YouTube will show this to other people, and also to subscribe so that you won't miss my upcoming videos. Thank you so much again for watching, and see you in the next one.